Hi, welcome back to another video. Firstly, thanks everyone who's subscribed since the last one. Currently standing at 952, which is 48 short of my target of 1000, at which point I can ask YouTube to start giving me a bit of money again. We're talking very small amounts again, but it is enough to encourage me to keep going. You know, a little bit of encouragement to make more videos. So if you're watching, I think only 25% of my watchers are actually subscribers, so most of you out there watching won't have subscribed. Please do so. It'll make a big difference to me, really encourage me to keep going. So today I'm going to have another look at the trajectory issue, or the drive cap as some people are calling it. We're going to look at how this issue is affecting more and more people, and it's not just going to be the long drivers who are affected. Certainly in the medium to long term, this is going to have an effect on everyone due to the changes that are coming in. Speaking of which, if you've seen the notice in the game appeared in the last week or so, you'll know work is going on to correct this issue. So you can see the part in blue there is the interesting bit. Depending on the physics improvement work, we expect to encounter a lot of variations in trajectory, carry and run. It may affect the existing strategy and gameplay patterns of the users. Now for me, that's saying it's going to affect everybody. Whether or not I would imagine it's not going to have a huge effect. If you've got kind of 500 stats or so, you might not even notice the difference. I suspect everybody who's playing the game semi-seriously, plays it quite a bit, is going to immediately, once these changes come in, see differences to various shots. We'll find out to what extent when the changes come in. That's one of the main reasons I'm making this video. I'm going to kind of keep track of a few shots on a couple of courses where I've noticed some anomalies, and then we'll be able to compare these once the changes come in, and we'll see, you know, how much effect they're going to have. But I suspect it's going to be a big one. So there's various opinions floating around about why the cap is there in the first place. I'm going to offer my thoughts on that today. Some think it's a deliberate cap put in place by the game makers. I'm 100% certain that's not the case when you think about it. The game only exists because people pay to get more stats in one way or another. So any limit that was put in place is going to basically prevent anyone above a certain level from chasing any more stats, and therefore anyone who's going to buy in-game currency, etc., you know, basically the thing that keeps the game going, the thing that gets the developers the money, they're not going to do that anymore. That's going to be shooting themselves in the foot. So there's no doubt that this isn't something that's been planned. What I suspect's happening here, the game was made about 5 years ago, something like that, possibly more. Now at that time, I'm sure no one making the game imagines that there would be people in 5 years' time still playing it, and people who would be reaching up to 600 yards plus in drives, which is kind of what's happening. I just don't think the game engine is set up to cope with some of the shots that are now possible due to the huge hidden distances, hence the work that's going on. So the good news is the fact that the guys are doing this, the developers, means that they do see a future for the game. They wouldn't bother if it was just going to get binned in 6 months. So I think we'll see it's going to go from strength to strength, hopefully. However, we are going to see, when these changes come in, a lot of people's notes going out the window. People who've been playing the same shots on the same courses week after week for years are all of a sudden going to find the ball isn't going where it used to do. So to a certain extent, everyone's going to have to be relearning it. Could be a good thing. It'll be interesting to see what happens. So anyway, when I did the last video, it did seem like this was only going to affect, it was only going to be something which would affect long one-wood power shots. However, since I've added a few stats to my own character, and during general gameplay, I've been playing a little bit more in the past month or two, I've begun to notice some strange trajectory issues with various shots, not just with the big drives. We're going to look at a few of those today. So first up, if we have a look, it's here at Whitecliff out. Now this is from the 4th tee. You'll notice, I think for all of these, I've chosen a right to left headwind. I say chosen, repeatedly opened this until I got a wind of that direction, because you can't choose your winds anymore, which is probably a good thing. But yeah, I mean, this is a shot, kind of a bread and butter shot that I've played many times before, aiming the cursor where it was. Sometimes with a less lofted club, you'd see that roll off the back. You see the green is very much sloped from front to back, sloping away from us. So with the cursor where it is there, with that wind, I would kind of expect to be pitching at the front and rolling towards the back with a loft of 5 wood. Now let's see what actually happens here. Yeah, so that is the issue basically. It's very much pronounced with that 5 wood I've got, because it's I've got a combination on it that gives me an extra, I think, 10 yards or something. So the more power you add, the more exaggerated the problem becomes. Now, just to show you something a little interesting, so if you notice there with my 5 wood, it's 436.4 yards. Now if I put it 0.1 yard further forward, which essentially means I'm changing to a forward, slightly less lofted. Now if I hit this, essentially it's pretty much exactly the same distance as far as the marker is concerned as I hit the 5 wood. You will notice that it is landing on the green and it's rolling towards the back, and you know, it's not really threatening the pin, but comfortably on the green. So you're talking really there, by moving that marker 0.1 of a yard, we have basically moved the trajectory of the ball, or the landing point of the ball, forward by what, 40 or 50 yards. So obviously that's not right, and it's not something that happens or that has happened traditionally with lower stats. The more stats you're adding, the more pronounced this is getting. So next up, we're going to have a look at Sawgrass. So this isn't with a wood, this is with a 2-iron with a high shot. Now, this is something that's caught me out time and again, because you look at the marker and you think, that's comfortably going to get on the green. You want to pitch it around about where the marker is there. It'll roll forward a bit, because it's a high shot, it'll stop fairly swiftly, because again, this green is sloping front to back. So anything that pitches on or around that red area at the front is going to comfortably roll up and give you a nice putt. So if we look at how far I've hit that, I'm actually hitting it 20 yards past the hole. I'm playing a full high shot, and as it comes down we will see it hasn't even made the green. In fact, I think I go for a dip in the water, which I've done in a couple of our friends' games on an evening, and has me tearing my hair out. I think, oh, it'll just make it, but no. So it seems that, again, so this isn't a driver, it's obviously an exaggerated long shot with a wood. I mean, with an iron, sorry, to think you can hit nearly 400 yards with an iron is a bit crazy, but according to the marker in the game, that's what should happen. So again, for a comparison here, what I'm doing is basically dropping a club, slightly different comparison to the last one. So with a 2-iron, I've just clipped the front of the green, ended up back in the water, and with a 3-iron, you'll see I just clipped the front of the green and end up not quite as far back in the sand, but essentially it's pitched in pretty much exactly the same place. So what we've seen there is a wood shot with a 5 wood, finishing way short of where we expected, and an iron shot. So I think finally we've got, and again, these are just 3 that have recently caught me out. There's loads and loads of examples of this. So if we have a look here, this is Rolling Hills 8th from the 6th tee. And again, this caught me out in tour last week. I think I managed to correct it in the end on one of my 5 tries. But if we look at where the marker is there with a 2 wood, to be honest, from previous experience, again, having played this hole a lot as my stats have increased and increased, ordinarily aiming it where I'm aiming it there, I'd probably expect this to go quite long. However, look where it actually ends up, it's most certainly not long. So it's just not going anywhere near where the marker suggests it would. I think as I play another similar shot here, but I think I change up to a 1 wood, and again, that's literally just a very slight difference between the 1 wood and the 2 wood. In fact, actually no, sorry, I'm going to play another full 2 wood here. I don't think I hit the last one actually full. So we just see the difference, and I think what you find actually is that as we're hitting it harder, in some cases it's actually going shorter. I think the pitch point there is certainly not longer than the first shot. And I think I do as a final example, just play with the 1 wood, so just change it up by 0.1 of a yard if you like, just to change up clubs but hit it a similar distance to the first couple of shots, and you'll see it's still, to be honest, when I was playing this, and again this caught me out into a couple of times, I couldn't be bothered to practice and I paid the price. I was kind of expecting as soon as I changed up the 1 wood to go way off the back. So it's really unpredictable. It was really hard to guess unless you've actually played each hole in every wind. Then you're going to struggle to predict where the ball's going now. Which again, if you've practiced all the time, if you really practice every hole, then you can just make a note of where it's going to go. But there's not really any more a set pattern you can follow with some of these shots. And again, hopefully just to illustrate what I think's going on. And what I've got here is, I found this on the internet. I was looking for kind of trajectory and trying to work out what the game's doing, what the game engine's doing. Now, as we can see here, we've got here 2 sliders, one of which is power and one of which is height. Now, I suspect when stats are added, basically the power is being increased, but also, depending on the club, the height's being increased. But what you find is basically we reach a level where, so let's say that marker is now a distance of 160. Now, as you notice, if I add height to that, it's going forward, it's going further forward. We're up to 200 there now, and now watch what happens now as we add a bit more. It's actually starting to come back. Now, I believe where we are at the minute with a lot of these clubs is kind of round about here. So it's at the point where when you're actually adding more power, it's not actually going any further, and it might be that it does add a little bit more power like that, but it also adds a bit more loft, and you'll find that it's we're kind of at a point where due to the game engine, the way it works out stats and height and power, etc., we've reached a level where it's kind of reached that kind of limit that we're looking at there now. That's what I believe anyway. So whoever made this, desmos.com, I just found it by googling trajectory calculator. Thank you for that. Apologies if there's any copyright or anything, just let me know if you want me to take it down. I will. Hopefully it'll be a nice little advert for you. You'll have everybody putting their trajectories into it, as people do on a very regular basis. Okay, so yeah, to conclude, what's absolutely clear about this is that any changes they're going to make are going to massively affect everybody who plays the game fairly regularly. Again, someone who's just picked it up wouldn't really notice any difference with the very little stats, but I think the more stats you've got, the more noticeable these changes are going to be. But equally, anyone who has played the game and to the extent that they roughly know where the ball's going to go at the moment, I think they're going to get a bit of a surprise after these changes come in. So prepare yourselves, it's all going to change. We'll find out if it's for better or worse, and I'll revisit this video and we'll revisit these shots just to see how things are behaving as and when this update is released. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.